the season, the ninth of his career. Alongside him, teammate Helio Castroneves, the winner in Detroit this year. Second row, Dario Franchitti, still seeking his first win of 2000, and impressive rookie, Kenny Bregg.
Christian Fittipaldi for the 8th time this year, the fastest of the two Newman Haas cars. Alongside him, Max Papis, a local hero driving for Team Rahal on row 4. Cristiano De Matta, the quickest of the Toyota cars, and Michael Andretti in the second Newman Haas Lola.
Happy birthday to Patrick Carpentier, he's 29 today. Juan Montoya was last year's race winner here. Jimmy Vasser lines up in 11th place on the grid. He finished second to Zanardi a few years ago. And Adrian Fernandez, well, he was a winner here. That was 2 years ago.
Mauricio Gugelmin is fastest of the Mercedes-Benz contingent on row 7. Alongside him, Paul Tracy struggling all weekend with that car. On row 8 is Roberto Moreno, forced to the backup machine after a gearbox problem on Saturday. And alongside him, rookie Alex Tagliani.
17th on the grid, the 26-year-old Spaniard Oriol Servia, and alongside him, Mark Blundell driving for the Pac West team. Behind them, Tony Kanaan with Mo Nunn Racing, and alongside him is the ex-Formula 1 racer, Japan's Shinji Nakano.
All Dale Coyne racing on row 11. Gualter Sauer's in the Lola, sitting in again for Takura Kurosawa, who needs a back operation. Alongside him, the Swift of Tarzo Marquez. Row 12, Mimo Gidley has a full-time ride now with John Della Penna's team, and Michel Jourdain Jr. alongside him. At the back of the grid, Luis Garcia Jr. He's been back and forth. He had an accident on Friday and put him into the 99 car, but now running the 2000 Reynard again for the race, Ben.
Well, here's Mimo Gidley. You mentioned him, Jeremy. He's now got a full-time ride with Della Penna. On board now with Adrian Fernandez as well. As we mentioned, he won this race 2 years ago, driving for Patrick Racing, and so another man to watch here this afternoon. He's a bit unlucky in qualifying yesterday. Mark Blundell also had a bit of a moment in qualifying, but he starts down in 18th position. Mercedes-Benz users still struggling somewhat. Gugelmin the best of them in 13th. Just back quickly with Adrian, and on board also with Max Papis. And as you say there, Jeremy, the team reasonably local. They're down in near Columbus, Ohio. We're midway between Columbus and Cleveland at this racetrack.
Yeah, just over an hour away from the Hilliard shop of Team Rahal. The team owner of Team Rahal, of course, is Bobby Rahal, a 3-time former champion here. But now the team is really managed by Scott Remke, who's the general manager there, as Bobby Rahal has taken over the running of the kart organisation.
Yes, Bobby, 3 times champion, also a 2 times winner on this circuit. There's the onboard camera with Juan Montoya. Now he starts down in 10th position, so some work to be done here for last year's winner. He did start from 8th last year to come through to win. It's going to be even tougher for him this time. The cars lining up, they start on the back stretch, and they're spaced out. They're very spaced out. I'm not sure if they'll get a green. Yes, they do get a green, and they all head down towards the first corner, trying to keep them bunched. Dario Franchitti trying to get third from Breck, but Kenny Bregg gets third place, so they go off in order. De Ferran and Castroneves, bit of a battle going on behind them, but it is De Ferran, Castroneves, Bregg. Papis under pressure from Christian Fittipaldi there, as Cristiano De Matta is squeezed to the outside.
Right, and Michael Andretti there under great pressure from, I think it was probably Juan Montoya, made a very quick start and trying to get around the outside there. You can see Cristiano De Matta in between the two Newman Haas cars as they go over the crest there.
But we've got through the first corner safely, and here at Mid-Ohio that's not always been the case, so that's good news. And this year we've seen a few problems, so great to see a clean getaway for this 83-lap event. And look at Gilles de Ferran and Helio Castroneves as they come past our commentary position. They're already beginning to pull away a little bit from Kenny Bregg in third place, Franchitti in fourth. Then behind him, Max Papis, Fittipaldi, De Matta, Andretti, Montoya in 9th position, followed by Carpentier, and somebody sounding rather sick at the back. That could have been Luis Garcia.
I think it was Luis Garcia who's last on the road, and that certainly sounded not at all good for the young Brazilian driver.
Look at this, there's Tony Kanaan, I believe, trying to get the inside of Mark Blundell. Didn't quite make it, nearly side by side. That's the corner, turn number 3, also known as the keyhole. But Tony Kanaan didn't quite work there. Now look at him, he's moving to the outside as they head down towards turn 4. This is the end of the long straight, and we just have a little look back as we watch the others come through that corner. And oh, we got round him. Look, there's Kanaan ahead of Blundell. So Tony Kanaan made that move work. He must have got round the outside of Mark Blundell into turn 4.
Yeah, that would have been a nice move there. You can do that. You can go side by side through turn 4 there. A little bit of good positive camber through that corner. You can get a run, you can get up the inside, going up the hill into turn 5.
Gilles de Ferran is race leader, however, the man who took pole and then crashed dramatically at the end of yesterday's session. Bit sideways out of the final corner, and he's being followed within his wheel tracks. Helio Castroneves, these two cars looking so good around this racetrack. A number of people have said this weekend how stable the cars look and how much easier the two drivers make it look with the setups they've got on these Reynards, Team Penske really has done a lot of their own work on these cars, a lot of their own developments, and it seems to be paying off here on these road courses. We saw it at Portland, we're seeing similar here at Mid-Ohio.
And absolutely running away from the rest of the field. Kenny Breck has got a huge train of cars behind him in third place. Look at these two, they're well out in front. 2.3 seconds Castroneves in second place over the third place car of Kenny Breck, and these two absolutely motoring away. That's all well and good, but fuel consumption could come into play here, and we've seen so far this season that has been a bit of an Achilles heel for Marlboro Team Penske.
Yes, they haven't always got the strategy quite right, so they'll have to play that carefully. And of course, Castroneves lost the victory virtually in Portland because of a slightly different way of calling me into the pits.
And the first two races of the season at Homestead and in Long Beach, Gilles de Ferran was in contention there, and again, fuel consumption cost him those possible wins.
Now, Breck is obviously holding up this next little train a bit, I would say, not by much, but it looks as though Franchitti might be able to go faster if he could find a way past. But that is very, very difficult on this racetrack. It's just one of those tracks that does not have many overtaking chances. One or two, we've already seen Canaan take a place, and that's the most common place, really, turn number 4, the end of this long straight, and that's where we will tend to see any overtaking manoeuvres. They run down there at about 190 miles an hour. I'm just looking quickly at Luis Garcia. That was the one. And look at Franchitti. Franchitti makes a move down the inside into turn 4. Late on the brakes. Oh, that's a good move. Squeezes Breck out to the edge. That's the way to get past down there at turn number 4.
Yeah, great move there by Dario Franchitti. And earlier on this morning, we had an Indy Lights race here, and his teammate, effectively Johnny Kane, in identical colours, tried to make a move on Filippo Giaffone and was not nearly so incisive with his move. They both spun off the road.
Yes, so Franchitti there showing how it should be done. That Indy Lights race, by the way, won by American driver Townsend Bell, with New Zealand Scott Dixon finishing in second place. Drivers to watch out perhaps for the future in champ cars. Meanwhile, Franchitti really has stormed away from Kenny Breck. Look at them as they come past our commentary position. Franchitti opened up over nearly 2 seconds over Kenny Breck on that lap. That's remarkable, but he is still 3.5 seconds behind race leader. And just quick here, up to Barry Green on the radio, talking to Dario, telling him the gap as we look back at that battle behind Kenny Breck. Breck still in 4th place. There's Max Papis right behind him, and then the two Newman Haas cars, Christian Fittipaldi ahead of teammate Michael Andretti.
Yeah, and Andretti did get past Cristiano D'Amato on that lap as well, so various changes going up and down the order. A few more places changing all farther down too. Tony Kanaan made up another place. He got past Aurel Servia on that lap.
So Kanaan going well. He's made up a couple of places already. Oh, and we've got Gugelmin off the track now. Let's see where we gather that there may have been contact between him and Moreno.
They were dicing for 14th and 15th positions, those two, and we look now at Kenny Breck coming up Thunder Valley, as they call it, up into turn 11, and up to complete another lap come the two Penske cars with Dario Franchitti in pursuit.
Yes, Franchitti chasing after them, still some 3.5 seconds behind race leader Gilles de Ferran. There's Kenny Breck holding on to 4th place with teammate Max Papis right behind him, and a little bit of honour at stake here, of course, for the two Team Rahal drivers. Who's going to get the edge? Breck has had the edge, I have to say, a little bit this year. Just taking a look at Gugelmin's car being recovered. Now let's take a look here. Well, there was the spin. We picked it up a little late. Moreno was certainly there, but whether there was contact or not, difficult to say. May well have been contact coming through that corner. That was the same corner that we saw Franchitti make that successful pass on Kenny Breck. And there is Moreno, second in the championship, remember, coming into this race. Some 22 points behind Michael Andretti as they tow Maurizio Gugelmin's car out of the way. So no need to go yellow. We haven't had our first caution of the day yet. Gilles de Ferran and Helio Castroneves driving for Team Penske are dominating things at the moment. It's a Honda 1-2-3 as Dario Franchitti stays in 3rd position. Back to the action at the Mid-Ohio sports car course from the Miller Lite 200, on board with Adrian Fernandez here, and Fernandez is running down in 11th position. At the start of this race, we've seen the two Team Penske entries really pull away out front. Gilles de Ferran leads the race after 8 laps completed. Castroneves, his teammate, runs in a close second. Dario Franchitti made the move to take 3rd place, but he is some 4 seconds off the lead is Dario Franchitti. You can see him in the background there, the green and white car of the Scotsman, and then behind him is the Swedish driver Kenny Breck, ahead of Italian Max Papis, Brazilian Christian Fittipaldi. Then our first American is Michael Andretti in 7th, ahead of Cristiano D'Amata in 8th, Montoya still in 9th, Carpentier in 10th, Fernandez and Vassar in 12th place.
And the two Penske's go faster and faster and faster. The quickest lap that time around, 1 minute 8.68. That's 3 seconds slower than the pole time, but it's certainly a lot quicker than anybody else who's going. Dario Franchitti, he's falling back, he's trying hard, he's still pulling away from Kenny Breck at 3 or 4 tenths of a second a lap, but Franchitti is losing out to those two red and white cars by a tenth or 2 of a second per lap.
It's interesting, isn't it, Jeremy, when you consider that they are the same cars in essence. They are Reynard chassis, Honda engines. It's the same for Team Penske. They're not running their own cars these days. They're running a Reynard chassis, but of course they do, as we mentioned earlier, all their own development. Well, not all, but a lot of their own development. They also take Reynard developments as well. And it does seem as over recent months on the testing they've done on the road courses that they found some tricks, shall we say, that has made their Reynard Honda faster than anybody else's.
It certainly seems to be the case. They do a heck of a lot of work here in England. Their Penske cars very, very much in operation. They built a lot of components for these cars. They also have a full wind tunnel development program at Southampton University, and that whole crew at Penske Cars has done a fantastic job. It's already a very good car, that Reynard 2KI chassis, and Team Penske has made it even better.
Yes, and look at the gap you can see on the graphic at the top there. 4.9 seconds is the gap from Gilles de Ferran back to Dario Franchitti, and that's a very healthy advantage. Cristiano D'Amata, looking at him at the moment, our last winner, of course, taking his first ever victory on the 1 mile oval in Chicago last time out. Fantastic performance, not only for him, for the team as well. After a number of races, they've really built up their championship campaign, and at last PPI Motorsports could celebrate their first win. And again, D'Amata was the top Toyota qualifier, ahead of this man, and he's still ahead of him, right just ahead of him, Juan Montoya. So battle of 2 Toyota-powered cars here.
Yeah, a good battle of honour there between these two, and Cristiano, he out-qualified Montoya. That's the 3rd time he's done that in the last 6 races, and Cristiano and that PPR team, as you say, Ben, they've really made great strides this season, now legitimate contenders for victory every time out.
Now, Montoya's been struggling a little bit this weekend with the balance of his car. He runs the Lola chassis, remember, and they've been experimenting with a different nose cone, which worked well for them in testing the other day at Road America. They've run it here on Friday, but in fact they ended up reverting to the old type nose cone in qualifying. The car just looked too twitchy. Having said that, it still has looked a bit twitchy in Montoya's hands back with the original specification, and he does seem to have struggled to really get this car to handle to his liking.
Yeah, he said yesterday afternoon he was pretty happy with the handling of the car, which kind of surprised us because it didn't look that way. He's having to work extremely hard at the wheel as he is there, constant corrections there. And if we look at the front of that car, that's the sort of standard Lola nose on there. Smoke there from D'Amata's car. And if we have a look later on at the Newman Haas cars, they are running the new, as they call it, catfish style wing, with the wings set slightly below the actual nose of the car.
So here they come around again. You just saw the Newman Haas, one of the Newman Haas cars in that battle. We're still seeing Gilles de Ferran, our race leader. Castroneves in 2nd place, 11 laps. We're on to lap number 12 at the moment as we look down over this track. Great view from the overhead camera. And there, just going through a picture, Michael Andretti and Cristiano D'Amata. There was a little bit of smoke from the back, but I don't think there's any major concerns. Apparently the team are fairly relaxed about things at this early stage of the race.
And the gap from 2nd to 3rd, Castroneves to Franchitti, it's just over 4 seconds now. In the last couple of laps or so, Franchitti actually has narrowed that gap just a little bit. But on lap 9, the two Penske's pulled away by almost a second for some reason. Not quite sure whether Dario made a mistake or not, but the last 2 or 3 laps, Dario's just into that gap, just a little bit back by a tenth or 2 a lap. Not really a significant amount, but at least he is certainly keeping pace with the 2 red and white cars.
We certainly had a clear view of the smoke from the back of D'Amata's car that time, and I would have thought that that would be a concern for the team if it carries on like that, but we'll have to wait and see. There are our 2 leaders, and look how closely Castroneves is shadowing Gilles de Ferran. Elio was certainly frustrated yesterday in qualifying.
And 4.
Didn't really time his run to perfection. He was just a bit unlucky, and the red flag came out when Gilles had his accident. So Castroneves didn't perhaps get the opportunity to challenge the pole that he wanted. Nonetheless, he's staying right in the wheel tracks of Gilles de Ferran. Nothing to choose between them at the moment. Franchitti goes through in third. There is our fourth place driver, Kenny Breck, with his teammate, Max Papis, not far behind him, and then behind him is Christian Fittipaldi. Quick note about Christian, he is racing this weekend after hurting himself quite badly in Chicago when he crashed on the Friday. His shoulders and upper back really giving him quite a lot of pain. He seems to be doing all right so far.
Yeah, fantastic job he's doing. Very stiff and sore is Christian Fittipaldi. In actual fact, Brian Herter, who is out of a ride after Jerry Forsyth pulled the plug effectively on his operation earlier in the season. Brian Herter did go have a seat fitting at Newman Hampshire earlier in the week, just in case Fittipaldi wasn't well enough to drive this weekend, and that has turned out to be the case, that Fittipaldi is fine. He has taken the wheel. He is, as you say, stiff and sore, but he is behind the wheel. He's doing a great job too.
Let's just watch this onboard camera for a moment as we head out of turn one along the straight, up towards the keyhole. We're changing down 3 gears up here. Dropping down as they come out of the keyhole. This is the section of track, the long straight, which is where they started the race, although it's not the official start-finish line. Heading down towards turn 4, 190 miles an hour down at this section. And then they're braking very, very hard into turn 4. This sequence up and down, you can see dropping downhill quite steeply, bottoming out a little bit here, then climbing again as they come out of this right-hander. Most of this taken in second and third gears. Meanwhile, Tarso Marquez in the yellow and blue car getting past Mark Blundell.
And that's strange, because Mark Blundell was ahead of the car in front of Marquez, which is Shinji Nakano. So not quite sure whether Mark made a mistake, maybe when they're off the road at turn 2, and is now under pressure also from Memo Gidley.
Memo Gidley in the red car this weekend, and it will be in that car for the rest of the season. Alberto Fontana, the Argentinian driver who was at the wheel of that machine, won't be playing any further parts in that operation. And off goes Montoya. Montoya is off in the gravel. And that's a dramatic moment indeed.
Yes, it is. He doesn't often make mistakes, but he's made 3 now in the past week or so. There was a test 10 days ago at Road America. He was off the road there, tore a corner off the car. Also here on Friday morning, Montoya also was off the road into the gravel trap. And again now in the race.
Yeah, he just comes past our commentary position. That was up, going up into turn number 12, I think. May have lost it through the left-hander just before that. Hopefully find a replay of that. We've got the onboard camera with him, and that is a surprise, isn't it? And he's come past our position here. Well, where is he? Quite a long way down the order. He's down in 23rd position. So that really is going to take some sort of miracle for Montoya to get a result out of this race here today.
Yeah, and certainly that's 3. We're going to say 3 uncharacteristic mistakes by Montoya within the last 10 days. Certainly very surprising. You know, when he went off the road at Road America, I was speaking to the team manager for Target Chip Ganassi Racing, that's Mike Hull, and he said, you know, I can't remember the last time he made a mistake and went off the road on his own. Well, he's done it 3 times now in the space of 3 days.
Yes, very, very unusual. Let's take a look at this. Sideways out of turn 9. This was the replay of Montoya going off. Let's see where he went off. Oh, and it was up in a turn. That's fast.
It is very quick corner there indeed, and that's a scary place to have a spin, let me tell you. But I think he got a wheel up on the curb, just turning into the corner, and as he got off that curb and turned in and got the power back on, around she went.
Well, he was pretty lucky to be able to drive through the gravel and get back out again, which he managed to do. Then he had to wait for everybody to go past before he could rejoin the fray and back into the game. So Montoya not having a good weekend at all. And as you say, very surprising to see him make a mistake. I have hardly seen it at all in his 1.5-year career here in Champ Car racing. He makes you wonder whether he's getting a bit distracted by the future. Perhaps that could be happening. I think more so it's the car that's not really to his liking at the moment. He seems to be fighting it a little bit this weekend, but looking for improvement. Gilles de Ferran, still our race leader. 15 laps have been completed, but he's shadowed every move by Helio Castroneves. Welcome back to Mid-Ohio, where some changes are being made to Montoya's car, and he gets back out again. I don't know if he didn't look very happy there, as it looks as though he wasn't really communicating with his pits. Into the pits also comes Dario Franchitti. Look at Montoya as he gets up to speed all over the place as he tries to get some heat in the tyres coming out of the pit lane. He still has some pretty impressive car control, that boy. Into the pits, Dario Franchitti. This is not a scheduled stop. This looks like a disastrous problem of some sort, because they were not expecting him. And you can see it's all a bit of a mess down there. And this was the man who was running in 3rd position and looking to be in great shape. Not quite keeping pace with the Penske's, but nobody else was either. And Well, it looks as though it's all effectively over in terms of a race victory here today for Dario Franchitti. We're hearing it could be an engine management problem. And away he goes back again into the race, but he's lost an awful lot of time.
He has. He's right at the back end of the lead lap. Also, Juan Montoya was also in the pits on the last lap as well, and that will mean that he, like Franchitti, assuming Franchitti is able to continue, Montoya will now be committed to, I think, to a 3-stop strategy.
Yes, that's right. But I didn't even know if they put fuel in Dario's car. They seem so... He came in, obviously, without any communication. They didn't know he was coming in. I'm not sure if they managed to get the fuel in or not. We'll wait and see. De Ferran is race leader. There he is. Well, there is his teammate. In fact, number 3, that's Helio Castroneves, the younger of the 2 Brazilians. These 2 who have joined Team Penske for this 2000 season. Brand new driver lineup, all new this year, remember, with change of cars, change of engines, change of drivers. And it's been successful so far. They haven't perhaps dominated things as yet, but we're getting into that stage of the season where the championship is really going to be decided. We've got a couple of road courses here, Road America next week, we've got a street course, a couple of street courses coming up still, and Penske, I have to say, looking very, very promising now. As Franchitti, there he is, back onto the track, but obviously a long way behind everybody else.
Yeah, 22nd place will be Dario Franchitti as he comes past us right now, and behind the front 2 now, behind the 2 Marlboro Team Penske drivers, is Kenny Breck in 3rd place. 4th place, however, was Kenny's teammate Max Papis. Well, a couple of laps ago, Papis lost that position to Christian Fittipaldi. We don't know why. I think we can only assume that Max must have had a little bit of an off-course excursion somewhere.
So we're hearing there was an electronics problem with Dario Franchitti and also a problem with gear shifting. And we gather they did not put fuel and tyres on board that car. They just didn't because, well, perhaps it was just they weren't prepared for him to come in, but that's a mistake. There's no doubt about it. They should always be ready in case a car comes in early or out of sequence to put fuel and tyres on a car. And that really is going to mess Dario up because even a 3-stop probably won't do it now. He'd probably have to make 4 stops or something.
Yeah, no, he should be. He'd just carry on now and he'll run the same schedule as everybody else. But certainly that pit stop cost him a lot of time, and unless there's a full course caution fairly soon, it'll cost him even more dearly.
Yes, so bad news indeed for Dario Franchitti. Can't seem to get a break this year. He was running competitively here, and the only man really able to run near the pace of the 2 Penske Reynards this weekend. Michael Andretti running there in 6th place, and quite a lot of stories surrounding this man this weekend. Michael Andretti.
That's very true indeed. Michael Andretti, he told us yesterday that he's now effectively a free agent. He said Carl Haas has elected not to take up the option on Michael Andretti's contract. And I know that, I believe I should say that the contract that Michael had with Newman Haas Racing had us with a balloon payment, if you like, for the final year of the contract, which I believe was in the region of $6 million that Michael wanted. I think this was substantially more than this year. I think it's on this year about 4 or 5. And Carl elected not to pay that $6 million. Michael, however, says he's got several offers from various other teams, from 3 other Champ Car teams, he says, and I think we can assume that they are Target Chip Ganassi Racing, Team Green, and perhaps, I don't know, well, and from Carl Haas, who may be in the running again, perhaps, because I know Carl doesn't really want to lose Michael unless he has to, but he also has an offer from an IRL team, we understand.
Yes, and that would be quite a shock if Michael Andretti went off to race in the IRL, but of course we know that he would love to be able to race the Indy 500. Maybe he'll get a chance to do the Indy 500 with a Champ Car team as well, with a few of the teams looking to do that. Maybe Michael will get his chance to do both. Back with Dario Franchitti, and let's just take a look at his lap times. 1 minute 8.6 for him, 1 minute 8.8 last time around for Montoya, and that's pretty competitive. 8.6, that's comparable with the Penske's running up front, the Penske Reynards, who are dominating so far. So Franchitti back on the pace, back to the sort of speed he was doing earlier, but so far down. And there you can see, not that far away from the 2 Penske Reynards of Gilles de Ferran and Helio Castroneves. He'll be trying to stay on the lead lap, but he is going a fraction faster than them at this point. Up and over the hill in front of the thousands of spectators gathered there, but there's a tremendous atmosphere here at Mid-Ohio. It's a real road course racing legend, if you like, this place. It's been Can-Am racing, it's been Champ Car racing over the years, and it always gets a great turnout and a very enthusiastic crowd to watch motor racing here.
It certainly does. There is a great atmosphere, sort of parkland setting here. There's park benches for the spectators to sit on, ups and downs. Beautiful place, Ben.
It is great, and Gilles de Ferran's enjoying it, isn't he, after 22 laps? He is our race leader here at Mid-Ohio. Looking down the list, you can see at the tail of that point scoring 12, it's Roberto Moreno, the man who's second in the championship. We saw him earlier on involved in a little incident involving Maurizio Gugelmin. Moreno's still in the race, however, down in 12th position. And Montoya's off again, would you believe it? Montoya taking to the dirt out of turn 1. I remember Zanardi bouncing across the dirt there a few years ago. So copying is the man who had this seat before him. And Montoya's having one of those days, I think it is. It has to be said here today. Well, he really is fighting the car. He's trying to put in quick laps. He's just done a 1 minute 8.9. But I don't think the car really wants to go that fast.
I don't think it was, and certainly he has been struggling all weekend. He's not been happy with the car. He's been off the road, as we said, on Friday morning as well, and he came close to going off the road several times yesterday. He didn't quite manage to do it, but he's working so hard at the wheel of this car, and he just caught him out, and yes, just not his weekend.
No, it happens sometimes, doesn't it? And if you're watching our coverage here on British Eurosport, you might be asking once again how the Brits are getting on. Well, we know Dario Franchitti's way down the order. He's in 22nd position. Mark Blundell, by the way, is running in 18th place and really just having a quiet time of it. We saw him passed by Tarso Marquez earlier, and it would appear that Mark's car not that competitive here this afternoon. It's been much the story of the year. I think Mark himself as determined, as gritty as ever, but he just hasn't got the car underneath him to be able to put in the results that he knows he can achieve. And it's much the same story for the other Mercedes-powered runners, it has to be said. A little bit disappointing here at Mid-Ohio this weekend. The top man of their contingent, Tony Kanaan, running in 14th place.
Yeah, and that's certainly very disappointing indeed. Mark Blundell, he's had a little bit of an off. I think he's back down in 18th place.
So on board with Mimo Gidley, and 24 laps have been completed. Gilles de Ferran continues to lead here at Mid-Ohio. Elio Castroneves runs in second, ahead of Kenny Breck, who's now in third after Franchitti's demise. Well, not demise completely, he's still in the race, but at the back. Fittipaldi up into fourth, ahead of Max Papis, as we mentioned. So a little change there. Michael Andretti still holding on to sixth.
But the gap from the two leaders back to third place. Here are the two leaders, and for the first time in the race, de Ferran, a little bit of a breathing space over Elio Castroneves, about a second of a gap there. On board with Juan Montoya. We'll see if he goes off the road this time. Don't think he will.
Well, this is a replay. Let's take a look at the replay of what happened to him a few minutes ago. That's what happened to him. He went diving over the grass. That was out of turn number 1. And managed to rejoin. He was almost back up at the keyhole by the time he rejoined. Look at that, he was way off track, and that car's getting covered in more mud and dust. It was already looking pretty grubby after his spin into the gravel coming into turn 10, or turn 11 up at the back part of the track. Let's take another look. This was it.
Yeah, he hit the curb. There's a curb there on the inside of the road separating the pit lane from the racetrack there on the inside of the corner, just sort of past the apex effectively. Looks like he hit that curb, and that just sent him flying off to the outside of the track.
Into the pits again comes Dario Franchitti. You're watching race leader Gilles de Ferran. He stays out there, but Dario Franchitti has come into the pits once again, and it would look to be some sort of intermittent electronic problem for that team. We'll wait and see what's going on. Well, this time they are refueling it at least and putting tyres on. Now, is that all they're doing, or are they also trying to address any other problems? Let's just see. The air jack's still in. It looks like a conventional stop actually this time. So I think that was just them taking advantage of this point of getting their first stop in before everyone else starts making their stops, which should be fairly soon now.
Yeah, that's true. We've got 26 laps in the books. Certainly in the next 2 or 3 laps we will see cars coming onto pit lane, no question about that. But meantime, the two leaders, they are 20 seconds clear of Kenny Breck in third place. We've only had 26 laps in the books.
That's remarkable, isn't it? Nearly a second a lap advantage for the two Team Penske entries, Gilles de Ferran and Elio Castroneves. Looking at Cristiano De Mata here running in 7th place. And he's got a few problems with his dashboard apparently that's not working properly. So that could cause him problems later in the race. Still running quite close behind Michael Andretti there, as you can see, as they go up over the hill, drop back down the other side. And Cristiano, the race winner from last time in Chicago, where he managed to stay ahead of Michael Andretti. And there's Franchitti back out, but the smoke coming from the back of the car now, it really is I think, pretty much the end of the day now for Franchitti.
Yeah, a lap down and out of contention considerably, it seems. But the two Penske cars, they're still absolutely flying at the front of the field. Fastest lap of the race, I reckon, last time around for Helio Castroneves did a 1 minute 8.26. His teammate de Ferran 1 minute 8.28, and are now 23 seconds clear of Kenny Breck.
Franchitti did not come in there, he stayed out, but he's just gone past the pit slowly, as you can see. There he is, going past pit lane, struggling, and it's a gear shift problem again, apparently. So don't know what's going on with that car, but it's not working properly. Meanwhile, into the pits comes Blundell. Tracy, oh no, that's Tracy just ahead, still just ahead. That's Moreno getting past Franchitti safely. Moreno running in 12th position, Paul Tracy running in 11th.
Yeah, as you see, Blundell in the pit lane. Also in the pit lane is Tony Kanaan. What do those two have in common? Mercedes-Benz engines. Once again, they seem to be they are the first cars in the pit into the pits on this round of pit stops. So fuel consumption not quite there with the other contenders, obviously.
No, that's right. So they're back out. Blundell gets out safely. Kanaan safely out as well. Moreno, we're taking a look at his front wing. There was a report that he may have damaged it in that incident with Maurizio Gugelmin earlier in the race, but it doesn't seem to be slowing him down any. He's in the 1 minute 9th, which is a competitive time at this point in the race. He's got a bit stuck behind some of the other cars, and he'll be looking towards his famous ability to get some excellent fuel mileage, to try and make up some places here today. His team leading the Craftsman Pit Crew Challenge, which means that they've been consistently faster than the other teams on their pit stops this year. Andretti in that 6th position. We've just seen Franchitti come in again, by the way. I think it's the end of the day, as we mentioned, for Franchitti. A couple of other people are making some pit stops. We're seeing Servia, Mimo Gidley coming into the pits as well. There's Dario, though, coasting to a halt. He's stopped in the pit lane now. He can't even get to his pit box, let alone... And he's in the way a bit. It's a bit dangerous at the moment, I have to say.
Very dangerous place to be. It's right in front of Shinji Nakano's pit and Memo Gidley's pit. Memo getting service there, and right alongside him, the safety crew is right there. And here comes in Gilles de Ferran.
The race leader is in the pits now. Helio Castroneves has stayed out there. This could be an advantage for Castroneves, who might be able to get in a quick lap or two before his own pit stop. This was how Juan Montoya managed to take the win here last year, by staying out there a little longer than anyone else. They've managed to get Franchitti's car out of the way. I'm pleased about that. I was a bit concerned seeing a number of people at the back of his car with the pit stops being made. That was not a safe situation, but they've got him out of the way, and that is it for Franchitti. His teammate Paul Tracy's just heading into the pits, as is Cristiano D'Amata. Now I wonder how many more laps Castroneves is going to be able to manage. I presume we would expect him only to be able to manage one more, but he was following de Ferran, had a bit of slipstream advantage of following de Ferran, and that might help his cause in getting better fuel consumption.
Absolutely, Ben, and I think, I'm not sure, there's a little bit of gamesmanship, but the last lap around, Castroneves did a 9.3. That's a whole second slower than he's been going up until now, so I'm not sure whether Gilles held him up someone coming into the pits, but here we go. Here is Helio Castroneves in for his pit stop.
Now we'll keep an eye out on where Gilles de Ferran's got to around the track. Just watch this pit stop. And away he goes. Now then, he has to go down the pit lane at speed limit, 50 miles an hour. We're watching for de Ferran to come through the final corner. He hasn't come through yet. Kenny Breck's coming into the pit, so is Christian Fittipaldi. Gugelmin's still out there now. De Ferran's just coming around the final corner, and I think Castroneves will be able to get out in front here. Yeah, no problem. Castroneves has taken that position away from Gilles de Ferran. Castroneves will be in front for this next stint. Kenny Breck we're looking at here.
And incredibly, the Penske cars have made their pit stops. They came out ahead of Max Papis, who has not yet made a pit stop. So absolutely amazing effort there by Team Penske.
Yes, indeed. So Breck gets away cleanly, and into the pits has come... Oh, that's interesting. Franchitti did go out and come back in again. That's very odd. As Breck gets out safely ahead of Christian Fittipaldi, and we wait to see for the leaders to come round once again, and it will be, I'm sure, Helio Castroneves ahead of Gilles de Ferran this time, and the two will continue their battle some way ahead of the opposition once all the pit stops have been settled. But in the other way round, there he is. There's our new race leader, Helio Castroneves, in the number 3. Oh, and he's up on the curve. Look at that, how hard he's trying. He's also going to be coming up on some traffic in a minute. There's a little bunch of cars ahead of him, which includes Montoya, funnily enough. But he managed to get quite an advantage over de Ferran. I'm watching de Ferran come round. De Ferran's got a little stuck behind Maurizio Gugelmin. Castroneves is going to have quite a big lead here. Let's have a look. 5 seconds, the advantage for Castroneves as he crosses the line. Into the pits comes Andretti. Good late stop this for Andretti. This could help his cause later in the race by being able to have a quicker stop towards the end.
Watch Jimmy. Wait a minute. Watch Jimmy.
Good stop from Michael, and he gets away. Now here's Max Papis in the pits. And away he goes now. I wonder if Michael's going to get out. No, I don't think he is.
Not. No, he's not. Then the Dicing Breck and Fittipaldi stay out ahead of these two. We see there Max Papis getting out of the pits just ahead of Michael, and that is the order in which they came into the pits, those two. But ahead of them already are Breck and Fittipaldi.
But the fact that they were able to go a couple of laps more than some of the others, that could well help them at the end of this race. So Papis and Andretti still in with a shout here this afternoon. But can anybody match the two Team Penske entries? Castroneves, here he is. Meanwhile, look at that. Breck versus Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi had a little look at getting past the Swede there, but it didn't quite happen for him. Fittipaldi certainly looking more aggressive at the moment. A couple of other drivers just coming in. Late stops indeed here for Carpentier, Fernandez and for Roberto Moreno. No great surprise to see Roberto one of the last to come into the pits, but a good performance from Fernandez as well.
Yeah, and also Patrick Carpentier there. So the third, fourth and fifth place cars in the pits, and Tarzo Marquez also making a late stop.
Now I think this could help Adrian gain a fair bit of ground. He's going to be passed by several cars that are just coming down past the start-finish line at the moment. Paul Tracy just in that group. Now that's interesting.
Yeah, he made some good ground there. A good stop by Team Gold Green. They got him out ahead of Jimmy Vasser.
And there's a problem for Moreno. Problems for Moreno here. They're trying to get the engine refired. And this is disaster for the Brazilian. Second in the championship and losing valuable time there. He gets out way behind the other cars he followed into the pit lane. And that drops him right back down the order again.
Ouch. That's not what he needed there. He needs the points. He knows Michael Andretti is running up amongst the top 5 or 6, and he wanted to stay right with them.
Castroneves has got himself up behind Montoya and some other cars that are a bit further down the order, so he needs to get past them cleanly and quickly to keep that advantage over Gilles de Ferran. 33 laps completed. Welcome back to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, where it's now another Team Penske car that's sitting in behind Montoya. This time it's second place man Gilles de Ferran, who can't find a way past the Colombian. And Montoya down in 22nd position with Michel Jourdain just ahead of him, still on the lead lap and desperately trying to stay on the lead. Well, not trying to stay on the lead lap. He's been lapped, of course, by race leader Castroneves, but he hasn't been lapped by this man yet. Second placed Gilles de Ferran, and de Ferran's getting frustrated, and the gap between himself and race leader is extending by a huge amount. It's 8.5 seconds last time around, and it's going to be more than that this time when they come past start-finish line.
Yes, it absolutely is, and I can't see any blue flags being waved, and I'm surprised. I think that there should be blue flags waved now to those slower cars. They are definitely holding up Gilles de Ferran, and that is what a blue flag is for, is to show the driver that behind him is a faster car, and there is no question at all that the faster car is bottled up behind those two slower cars of Jourdain and Montoya. Montoya might well be the defending series champion, but he is still a slower car in this instance, and he needs to get out of the way.
That's right, yes.
I'll tell you what, Ben, it's sorry to interrupt there, but if this was Formula 1, he'd have been black flagged and he'd have been in the pits by now.
Absolutely, yes. Of course, different rules on the ovals to on the street course or to on the road courses. Not so much different rules, perhaps that's the problem. They don't really sort of specify different rules. And on the ovals, of course, to stay on the lead lap is everything, because you've always got a chance. But on the road courses, it doesn't work that way.
No, you're absolutely right, but he is already a lap down, and that's the point here. He's already a lap down to the race leader, who is Elio Castroneves, so it's a moot point, that part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's losing, de Ferran's losing absolutely huge amounts of time here. He's losing nearly 2 seconds a lap to his teammate Elio Castroneves, and this really is where I think the race is being decided. 11 seconds between Castroneves and Gilles de Ferran at this point. So it's gone out hugely. It was around 4 seconds not that long ago, and now up to over 11 seconds.
Yeah, and I have to say that I think, I don't know what the officials are playing at. Maybe they're not watching their monitors. They weren't watching them last weekend. We criticised them last weekend for when they did show the blue flag to Tarzo Marquez, who was holding up Montoya. They did not show the blue flag to Marquez when he was holding up the rest of the field. And I don't know what they're thinking this weekend.
No, it does seem a little odd, a little inconsistent, and the drivers always anxious that there is consistency in whatever rules are applied. Now, Gilles de Ferran, you can see the gap. Look at that on the graphic, how it's gone out in the last few laps hugely. This is all playing into the hands of this man, Helio Castroneves, looking very, very smooth up front, driving beautifully. He is a real artist, this man at the wheel. He's so smooth and has such style to his driving. Castroneves has been a star over here for a couple of years. He just hasn't had the equipment really to show it in champ cars before this season, and now that he has got the equipment, just watch him go. Pulling away at a couple of seconds a lap at the moment as de Ferran still bottled up behind Montoya, and these two are huge amounts. Even though de Ferran's getting held up here, he's still a huge amount ahead of Kenny Breck, who runs in third place. Still, wait, there's Kenny Breck just coming past our commentary position, and the gap between de Ferran and Kenny Breck is some 20 seconds. So that just shows you a massive difference between the performance of the Team Penske Reynards and everyone else.
Yeah, and it was 25 seconds, so a second a lap there to de Ferran is losing out to both Castroneves and the rest of the pack as well. They're inching in this, as you say, Ben. They're still a long, long way behind, not really in danger of being caught.
Oh, Montoya, I think that is going very slowly. Well, at least that's allowed de Ferran to get past him, but problems now for Juan Montoya, and his horrible weekend continues and now comes to a conclusion.
Well, I think he might have run out of fuel. It's been 27 laps since he came in the pits. He came in on lap 17. It's now lap 45, and lap 27, well, that's when the other Toyota runners came in, most of them at least, in that first round of pit stops. No, lie. Actually, Jimmy Bassett came in on lap 31, but I don't know, he certainly seemed to lose power there. Montoya pulls off the road and is out of the race.
So, disaster for Juan Montoya. It's been one of those days, as we said. Now Gilles de Ferran still tucked in behind Michel Jourdain. I wonder if it's going to be just as difficult to find a way past him as it has been to find a way past Montoya. We are at lap number 45. We're over half distance in this 83 lap event. We still have another scheduled pit stop to go, remember, and still a little way to go before we get into that second round of pit stops. And we're just looking a bit further down the field now, because there's a nice battle going on here between the blue and white car. That's Alex Tagliani and Tony Kanaan right behind him in the Monon Racing entry. As we say, battle for 12th, just 1 point on offer for 12th position, but honour at stake as well. And Tagliani at the moment holding on to that 12th place. Jimmy Vasser, Paul Tracy a little ahead of them down the road.
Yeah, and that battle has been going on for a long, long time actually between those two, and it's always good to see any sort of battles there. And there is Tagliani, who's doing a really good job. He struggled a little bit in practice and qualifying with that player's car, hasn't been able to match his teammate Patrick Carpentier for pace this weekend, but doing a good job in the race and keeping all the doors shut. And Tony Kanaan, try as he can, isn't able to find a way past.
Absolutely. Well, there is Helio Castroneves just getting through the traffic, getting past Roberto Moreno safely. Still putting in some very quick lap times. De Ferran still tied in behind Michel Jourdain. Almost strikes me as whether de Ferran is not really trying that hard to get past the slower car. Perhaps he's just in fuel conservation mode and really trying to stretch it out. I can't really see that would work unless they feel that Castroneves would have to make an extra splash and dash towards the end with the sort of pace that he's running. I suppose it's always possible, but strikes me that Castroneves should be all right.
Yeah, good point. He should be. He stopped on lap 30. It's an 83-lap race, so he stopped on lap 60. Only 23 laps to go to the finish, so really shouldn't be too much of a problem.
No, that's right. So Castroneves looking good at the moment on lap number 48. He's got Marc Blundell next in his sights to find a way past. And here we are, look at Kanaan trying to go around the outside here of Tagliani. Tagliani squeezing him out and couldn't quite get through there, but a good brave attempt to snatch that 12th place. And Tagliani for the moment holds on to it. Up through turn 9. This is the area they call Thunder Valley, this dropping downhill fast kink into a fast but tricky left-hander. And then the final part of the lap, the carousel. Quite a slow right-hander, this one. Control the throttle, then power on out of here, flat through that little left-hand kink, and across start-finish line, about 150 miles an hour across start-finish, building up through turn number 1 there at about 130 in 4th gear, back up to 5th, 175 miles an hour as they approach the keyhole, hard on the brakes. Down to about 65 miles an hour, and Tagliani locked up, went wide, and that's given the chance for Kanaan. That's the move. Just that little mistake's all it takes, and their place is gone. And Tony was ideally situated to take advantage.
Yeah, excellent move by Tony Kanaan there. He really pressured Alex Tagliani finally into a mistake. Takes the advantage there, protects his line down the inside into turn 4, and he now should be home free. I think he's got a pretty quick car through the twiddly bits. Look again now, Alex Tagliani there. Okay, he locks up that right front brake, and he's just carrying a little bit too much speed into the corner. Wide he goes onto the marbles there. Dirty stuff on the outside of the corner, and Tony Kanaan says, thank you very much indeed, Alex. I will take advantage of that one.
So Tony's into 12th, but off the track is Gualter Salles. This is the Brazilian Gualter Salles driving the number 19 car in place of Takuya Kurosawa. And Kurosawa, who was injured in an accident in Michigan a few weeks ago, has decided that he can't run for the remainder of this year, but he does hope to be back again next season. Gualter Salles trying to get out of the car. It is well and truly beached there, so there's no way he's going to be able to rejoin. He clambers out. Castroneves is still our race leader after 48 laps. Welcome back to Mid-Ohio as this race continues. 50 laps out of 83 completed. Team Penske looking good. Now let's take a look at the road courses results they've had this season. One win apiece for the two drivers, De Ferran and Castroneves. Both have had 2 pole positions on the road courses. And look at Castroneves, he's led 109 laps compared to 55 for De Ferran. And this was before the race began, of course, as well. And points scored, they've both scored well on the road courses. And we've got several more of them to come, of course, this season. Great overhead shot there of the twisty section of track. Castroneves, De Ferran, Breck still in 3rd place. Fittipaldi fighting in 4th. Papis and Carpentier. Just a quick reminder, Fittipaldi injured in Chicago. Sore back, and I'm impressed with what he's doing here today. He's still very much in the wheel tracks of Kenny Breck, who's running in 3rd position. Funnily enough, one of the team members was saying to us yesterday, Jeremy, that Christian always seems to go well when he comes back from having had a bad accident.
That's true, he does every time, and it's happened 4 times in his career. Over the last 4 years, Christian has had to miss races because of injuries suffered in various incidents, and each time he seems to come back even stronger than before.
Now we're on board with Memo Gidley, and Gidley, the American who's taken over this ride at Della Penna from Norberto Fontana, taking us around the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course. Let's just watch and listen for a second. Gidley, who you may have heard on a couple of our broadcasts earlier this year, who joined us in the commentary box. Great to see that he's actually out there behind the wheel rather than in here. Much as a good commentator as he was excellent in fact, but it's great to see that he's out there with the opportunity to show what he can do behind the wheel of a racing car, and I think he is a man with a great future ahead of him if he gets into the right car at the right time.
I agree with that, and this man, Helio Castroneves, he is in the right car at the right time. The last couple of years, he's shown his paces, but hasn't had really the equipment to win races on a regular basis. He scored his first win, of course, in Detroit. What a joy that was to see. He came very close the last couple of years with Tony Bettenhausen's team, and then with Carl Hogan's team, and now is with Marlboro Team Penske. He is really showing his true colours. This guy is an ace.
Well, De Ferran has finally got free of any traffic, but De Ferran is a full 16 seconds behind Helio Castroneves now. Remember how close they were in the early stages? Most of that down to traffic and down to that first pit stop that Castroneves had by coming in a little bit later than De Ferran. That's really worked to his advantage. Both of them lapping at the same pace on that last lap. 1 minute 8.813 for Castroneves, 1 minute 883 for De Ferran. Meanwhile, there is our 3rd place man, Kenny Breck, who is some 35 seconds behind Castroneves, but still holding on to 3rd position, and it has been an impressive season for Kenny Breck so far this year. There's no doubt about it. Coming into the championship from the IRL where they run on ovals, and of course this year he's had to get back into road racing, but he comes from a good background in road racing in Europe. He was the runner-up in the Formula 3000 championship back in 1996 to Jörg Müller. So he certainly has the ability, and it's interesting, he's saying himself that it's all really coming back to him now after a period of not doing it. Let's just hear from Montoya.
How tough is it to accept this as a defending champion of this series?
But you know, things happen. The car, you know, we couldn't really get the hands with the car through all the week, and in qualifying, you know, I thought it was, you know, I couldn't run that pace. In the race, actually, beginning of the run, I was getting very good mileage, and I thought it was going to be good. But you know, as the run went on, just the car, even though I was really turned down, the car started sliding and suddenly just stepped out of me. Just, you know, then I ran out of fuel.
Do you get frustrated when things like this go on? I mean, we see you smiling here. It looks like you're getting used to it, but it's got to hurt, doesn't it?
But it hurts, but you know, that's racing. And it, you know, it's not the first time that it happened, you know, and you know, it's a shame because for the championship it's really bad. You know, it really hurt us because we're not really scoring any points. You know, we scored points in 3 races or something like that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. He's only finished 6 races out of the 13 held so far this year, so it's not a particularly good record, particularly with that team, I have to say, because Target Chip Ganassi Racing has always been, in recent years, the team. Oh, and we've got Carl Vassar and Tracy. Vassar and Tracy have made contact up at the keyhole, and bent suspension on both cars, I would think, by the looks of things. Oh, it's Franchitti. Sorry, it's not Tracy, it's Franchitti. As into the pits comes Gilles de Ferran.
Yeah, there's the race. Well, the second place car is into the pits. That is Gilles de Ferran. And as you say, Paul Tracy, he has seemed to escape. It was Dario Franchitti who was dicing with them. There was Fernandez, Tracy, Vassar and Franchitti and actually Canaan all in a train there. But of course Franchitti was 2 laps down and he was behind Jimmy Vassar, so if he was trying to get past him, I can't really imagine why, other than just bragging rights or maybe trying to give his teammates a bit of breathing room, and neither is a good reason.
No, that's right. So that's a great disappointment. Let's see. Here we go, Jeremy. We've got the view. Franchitti does take a lunge up the inside. Jimmy doesn't know he's there. Not great surprise. And it all ends in tears. And I have to say, that really shouldn't have happened there at all.
Totally agree with you there, Ben. I think, I don't know what Dario was playing. He was obviously frustrated by the way his day had gone. But there's no reason to act like that. That was a very unprofessional move, really. Certainly not the sort of move you expect from Dario Franchitti. I think the frustration was getting to him. He knew he had to score points this weekend to get his championship challenge back on track. And poor old Jimmy Vassar, it's been a bad day for him. He was informed last evening that Chip Ganassi would not be renewing his contract with Jimmy for next year. So he was having a good run going. He was running in 11th place, but he was running fairly strongly, and that's not what he needed.
Castroneves coming up to lap Mimo Gidley here. Gidley gives him room. Yes, he does. And Castroneves gets through safely. 56 laps have been completed by our race leader. De Ferran has been into the pits, as we saw just a moment ago. So that means Breck is now up into 2nd. Fittipaldi is now up into 3rd. De Ferran back to 4th place. Let's take another look at this. Jimmy Vassar being chased by Dario Franchitti. Franchitti tries to outbrake Jimmy Vassar, but Vassar definitely ahead as they get to the turning point. Difficult from this angle, of course, to see exactly how much he was there. He wasn't really there, and you could see it was wheel-to-wheel contact rather than wheel-to-side pod contact even as they went into that corner.
That's right. And that'll be very, very disappointing for both men, and particularly Jimmy Vassar. You know, he was at least he was on the lead lap, and there's Dario Franchitti beginning the march back to the pits. You can see the body language there. Yeah,
long way back from there too, as Oriol Servia has service in pit lane, and Servia running in 13th place just before this stop gets away cleanly. So De Ferran has made his 2nd stop with some 26 laps still to go. I wonder when Castroneves is going to make his next stop. But he has such an advantage at the moment that he can afford a fairly relaxed stop, I have to say. Kenny Breck into the pits. He was in 2nd place before he came in, with Gilles having made his stop already. So that now puts Fittipaldi up into 2nd position, and it'll bring De Ferran up into 3rd place. So Fittipaldi will now try and get as many laps as possible. We're watching the on-helmet camera with Kenny Breck's team. Get that fuel in, and away he goes. Takes a while to put in the full tank of fuel. Into the pits comes race leader Helio Castroneves. Here he is. This should be straightforward procedure for Team Penske. One of the best teams in the business. Now at last they've got an opportunity to be winning races once again.
Watch the speed limit, be conservative where you shut it off.
Being told to keep it conservative where he shuts the speed limit off. He doesn't need to do anything too dramatic. He has such a big advantage. There is De Ferran, De Ferran still has about a third of a lap to get around before Castroneves gets out of the pits.
Yeah, that's right, a huge lead he does have over this man, Gilles De Ferran, who did, of course, start from the pole, despite the fact he had an off-course excursion in qualifying yesterday. He's in the backup car now, but that's no concern. The backup car is every bit as good as the primary machine, and you can see that Vassar is now back with Dario as they walk back together.
Yeah,
towards the pits. Yeah, it's a long walk, you say.
It is, having a few words. They get on pretty well, those two, but that will have strained things a little bit. On board with Fernandez, but Castroneves looking in great shape here at Mid-Ohio. So 58 laps completed out of the 83 here as we continue our coverage on British Eurosport. The safety car beside the track where Dario Franchitti went off, just trying to get that car out of the way. At least it didn't cause a full course caution. They managed to clear it up with just a local yellow at that corner. So that hasn't closed up the lead at all. Castroneves will be hoping there aren't any more cautions in this race because he's got such a comfortable lead. He'd love to be able to just hold it. Meanwhile, in the pits, Mimo Gidley has stalled and now eventually gets away again, so that's cost him a good deal of time. And also coming into the pits now, second place man, Christian Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi leading it a little later than some of the others to make his pit stop. And he may be able to gain a bit of ground here. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, his main battle was with Kenny Breck, so this is going to be an interesting situation here, Jeremy, whether Christian is going to be able to get out in front of Kenny Breck. Now, Christian's just getting going. I'm watching out of our commentary box window to see when Kenny comes past us, and still no sign of Kenny yet coming past our commentary position. Fittipaldi just getting to the exit of pit lane, comes out onto track. He's got it way ahead of Kenny Breck, so Christian Fittipaldi gains the position there, and that should put him in third place.
Wow, and certainly a big stride forward there for Christian Fittipaldi. Great work in the pits, and look how it pays off for him. That's a tremendous move. And we see Mauricio Gougemin, he's running in last place. He's just been into the pits, so another unscheduled stop there.
Yeah, he's getting out of the car there, so it's all over for Maurizio. Spun out earlier in the race after some sort of incident with Moreno, which we never quite caught, but he is out of the race altogether now. And Mark Blundell, meanwhile, his teammate, running in 18th position still in this race, but struggling in terms of performance. Really can't get on to terms with the race leaders. Elio Castroneves is our race leader. Cristiano De Mata comes into the pits. Michael Andretti still out there at this point, and Paul Tracy also taking advantage of this opportunity to come into the pits. We've just seen Christian Fittipaldi gain some positions. He's moved up into third place. Well, we think it will be third once they've all made their stops. Fittipaldi got ahead of Kenny Breck, but a number of drivers haven't come in yet, Jeremy, and that could change the order in the top few quite a bit, because if they can really push it and get a very short stop in, they could be in good shape.
That's right. Max Paff is yet to make a pit stop. Michael Andretti and Adrian Fernandez also not yet been in the pits, nor has the second player's car of Alex Tagliani. So they'll be in within the next lap or so. And in the meantime, this man Elio Castroneves along his merry way.
Let's go down to pit. Oh, Shinji Nakano's off, but he's just off on the grass there. That's the Japanese driver. In fact, that's not too far away from us, down at turn number 12.
Lap in the race, we're moving forward. I was getting a little tired, to be honest, after 50 laps without a yellow. It's been a while since I've driven, but hopefully next week in Elkhart we're going to do the job all weekend long.
Thank you very much. We go to Jan. Andretti's in, Jan?
Yes, he is, Mike.
Watch to me, wait a minute, watch to me. Go ahead, go.
Michael gets going again. He's going to be behind Kenny Breck. Breck's just going past us, but we have a full course yellow. Full course yellow comes out as he rejoins Roberto Moreno, coming into the pits as well at this point. Now this will close the leaders up together, of course. Castroneves, who had a 19-second lead over his teammate Gilles De Ferran, will now see that lead diminished. I don't know if there are any lapped cars between them. I think there will be one or two, Jeremy.
Yeah, there'll be certainly a few. There's one there, Royal Serbia comes past us, and Mimo Gidley probably, and maybe not many more than that. There's such a long gap there before we see the second place car of Gilles De Ferran. Actually, De Ferran did get past Gidley, so there will be just one car between them at the restart.
Max Papis takes advantage of this yellow to come in the pits. The yellow caused by the car off of Shinji Nakano. Also coming into the pits, here comes Adrian Fernandez.
Yeah, not really. It's not really going to make any difference either way. In this instance, on this particular course, with the yellows as it is now, everybody's up to speed. The pits are open. You don't have the pits closed like you do on the oval tracks, and so it really won't make that much difference at all.
No, that's right. Papis rejoining the fray here. Now, where's he going to rejoin? About fourth position, perhaps. Great stop for Adrian Fernandez, very quick stop indeed, and they were able to do that because he'd managed to save fuel. So that's got Adrian out pretty effectively. We'll have to see where that is exactly, but he has definitely gained some places. Good work from the Patrick Racing crew. Castroneves is leader. We're under yellow. Welcome back to Mid-Ohio. You're looking at a view of Mark Blundell as we look through our field summary here with 65 laps completed. Castroneves race leader from De Ferran. A couple of lapped cars between them. At the restart there will be. Fittipaldi now up to third, Papis in fourth, and Kenny Breck back down to fifth, so he was really the main loser on that final round of pit stops, Jeremy. He came in third place, stopped a little earlier than some of the others, and has emerged after all the action in fifth position.
Yeah, found his teammate Max Papis, who went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 laps further before he made that pit stop, so that turned out certainly in Max's favour, and Max now, as you say, in fourth place, Kenny Breck in fifth, Carponche in sixth, and Adrian Fernandez moves up 2 positions from 9th to 7th, he bolted ahead of both Michael Andretti, who's looking to extend his championship lead here, particularly with Moreno languishing back down in 14th and a lap down. So Andretti now down to 8th position ahead of Cristiano De Mata, and Paul Tracy rounding out the top 10 ahead of Tony Kanaan and Alex Tagliani, the last car on the lead lap.
To see that pit summary, you can see how the changes were made. And look at Castroneves laying down some rubber there as he begins to pick up the pace, ready for the restart. And Gilles de Ferran, much closer now, of course, than he was, but still 2 cars. Servia, the yellowy-green car, right behind Castroneves, and then Roberto Moreno, and then De Ferran. The green flag waves, and away they go once again. Castroneves sets them off. Mark Blundell, meanwhile, further back, is holding up a little group of cars. Castroneves gets away cleanly. Sevilla follows him, but he's a lap down. Moreno is behind him, but he's a lap down. So we look back to see Gilles de Ferran in the number 2 car, running in second place. Mimo Gidley there. Where is third place? There he is. Christian Fittipaldi in the black car is in third. A whole gaggle of cars here trying to sort it all out. Mark Blundell really sort of holding everybody up a little bit as Tracy goes round the outside of him. Kenny Breck somewhere in that battle. Fernandez being chased by Andretti. Fernandez in 7th, Andretti in 8th.
Yeah, clearly a problem of some sort for Mark Blundell. He held up just about everyone. Look at Fernandez, they're diving down the inside of Patrick Carponche. Can't quite make it stick.
That nearly worked, and that was for position as well. Meanwhile, look at trying to go around the outside. Paul Tracy trying to get around the outside of Michael. That doesn't work either. That's for 9th position. And where is Cristiano De Mata? Because he was in that little group somewhere, and he seems to have lost a couple of places, I think, on that restart. Let's just take a look. Yeah, Cristiano De Mata is now behind Tagliani, so he lost several places.
Wow, yes he did. He lost a lot of positions there. Not quite sure what happened there, but all sorts of shuffling there was, and I think it was largely as a result of Mark Blundell holding everybody up at the restart.
Look at this, Fernandez and Andretti. Oh, Tracy got very sideways right just behind them. Completely crossed up there through turn 13 was Paul Tracy, who's that car you can just see behind Michael Andretti in the black machine as we ride on board with Adrian Fernandez. Won here 2 years ago, did Fernandez. Not going to win this one this weekend, I don't think, but still running in 7th, and important points for the championship. Accelerates hard out of turn number 3, or turn number 2, through the kink here at 3, and then down towards turn number 4, where outbraking is possible, and Tracy having a little look down the inside of Michael. This is great stuff.
Yes, it is, and great on-board pictures here from Adrian Fernandez's car as he crests the right end turn 5, downhill again to turn 6, and this tight corner here, you'll hear him short shift here, the gear up into 4th gear there, over the crest again in turn 7, and down now to this tricky right-hander in turn 8, that very tricky braking area there, and the cars drift out to the apex, down out to that yellow curbing there, and it's a very tricky part of the racetrack, and great fun to watch.
Up front, Elio Castroneves is opened up a little lead again over Gilles de Ferran as we continue to watch this group battling for 7th place. Fernandez and Andretti. Just ahead of them is Patrick Carpentier in 6th. Let's go down and hear from Jimmy Bassett.
Dario Franchitti, how did you see it?
I didn't see it, really. I think he just hit my rear tire, and walking back with Dario, and he said he locked him up or something. Was sorry he hit me, but yeah, that's the way it goes. I didn't think he was going to try to make a move. I knew he was 2 laps down, and that's the way it goes.
Jimmy, we're hearing a lot of speculation about your racing future. Have you, in fact, parted company with Chip Ganassi at this point?
No, not at this point.
Do you think that's going to happen?
It's possible. You know, it's possible. We're gonna talk this week and maybe say something before Elkhart Lake.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And in the meantime, Adrian Fernandez just got past Patrick Carpentier there. So Fernandez has just taken 6th place, and you could see how tight it was behind as well between Michael Andretti, Paul Tracy with Alex Tagliani in there, and Cristiano D'Amata trying to make up for lost ground.
Yeah, some really, really tight racing there back in the pack. Some great stuff, and I think we've got quite a bit of scores to be settled there amongst this little pack of cars.
We've got some
14 laps remaining. Keep working them. Good job. You're looking good.
Some 13 laps to go now, in fact, as they go across the line. Well, no, 14 laps to go, that's right. They were on lap 70, but 69 laps have been completed as they head off towards turn number 2. And the battles continue. Castroneves, though, with a 5.9-second lead over Gilles de Ferran, so he's looking comfortable. And Christian Fittipaldi looking for a podium finish here today on his return after that accident in Chicago, with Papis and Breck chasing behind.
Yeah, Fittipaldi running very well indeed. And look at this. Who's that on the outside line there? Oh, dear.
Tagliani getting round Tracy, I think that was. Cristiano D'Amata. Oh, look at that contact. That's Canaan. Yeah, Tony's hit Paul Tracy and damage to Tracy's car. So I think we're going to see a yellow here. And that was Tagliani.
That guy.
Not impressed, Tracy, I think, by Tagliani's move. But hopefully we'll get another look at that. A brave try, I have to say. Whether it was on, he certainly had a great run on Tracy. Let's just watch. Trying to go around the outside. He was ahead here, but of course, no, he tried to turn in too tight. There was no way he could do that.
No, that's right. He certainly misjudged it there. And Paul Tracy, there's a lot of speculation too that Paul Tracy might be going to the players' team. Look at here, all sorts of shuffling. You see Michael Andretti down the inside of the other player's car. That didn't work out. He backed out of it. And that Alex Tagliani didn't. He just cut across. I don't know where he thought Paul Tracy was going to go.
But I think Tagliani got away with it, didn't he? I think he actually survived the moment. So in fact, it hasn't done any harm at all to Tagliani. He's gained the place, moved to the outside here. Tracy was just holding the inside. And Tagliani, well, he could have just stayed round the outside there. I mean, that's what he should have done, was just stay round the outside. And he could well have then had the inside line for the left-hander, but he didn't try and even do that. He just turned in. I don't know what he thought Paul Tracy was going to do. There was no way Tracy could get out of the way at that point. So that's caused a full course caution. D'Amata out of it. He's frustrated, as you can imagine. It was not his fault at all, and he just got caught up in the aftermath of the accident. So D'Amata, winner last time out in Chicago, he's out of the race here at Mid-Ohio. Castroneves leads from De Ferran and Fittipaldi. The two-team Rahal cars close behind. We're back at Mid-Ohio within sight of the checkered flag virtually. We're some 12 laps away from the end of this race. We're under caution at the moment. Tony Kanaan, that is, in the pits after he made inadvertent contact with a spun Paul Tracy. They've changed the nose cone on the car and sent him back out again. With a certain number of reduction in runners, well, he's still got a chance to score some points here this afternoon on board with Mimo Gidley. Let's take a look at the number of drivers who've gone out of this race so far. Paul Tracy, the latest after a rather ill-advised move from Alex Tagliani. D'Amata taken out in the same incident. Marquez was already out with his problems. And then after Marquez, Nakano, Gugelmin, Vassar, Franchitti, Sales, Montoya, Garcia, all out of this race. And this was just a few moments ago when Paul Tracy decided the shortest way back was through the crowd.
And getting a pretty good round of applause there for Paul Tracy, and he tries to be philosophical about it. I think he's having a hard time, though. It's particularly galling when a countryman takes you out of the race. Perhaps there's been talk, though, of Paul Tracy perhaps even driving for the players' team next year, and whether Tagliani felt he was trying to make a point there, I don't know. But certainly be very, very, very disappointing for Paul Tracy. He's done a good job again in the race today. He's had a disappointing qualifying effort that left him back in 14th on the grid, but he'd moved up several positions and certainly was inside the top 10, actually running 9th when the incident happened. And Cristiano D'Amata out of the race also.
Taking another look at it here, another view. It's the blue and white car of Alex Tagliani, the rookie French-Canadian, up against the green and white Paul Tracy, the veteran Canadian who's been in this championship for a good number of years. Tracy defended the inside line, perfectly fair to do that, gave Tagliani room on the outside, went to turn in, and imagined no doubt they would go through side by side, but Tagliani just came across to take the apex, and there was nowhere for Tracy to be, basically.
No, that's right, and certainly there is room there in that corner to go around two abreast. When you're out on the outside line, this is a view from Mark Blundell, and all you can see there, well, you can see those cars there tangled together on the outside of the track, and Mark able to steer through. I think Mark's obviously got some sort of a problem there. And it's a disappointment too for Cristiano D'Amato. You know, he won, as you said, Ben, he won 2 weeks ago in Chicago, had another good run going here, again a top 10 finish on the cards, but no points today for Cristiano.
Let's go down to the
Chicago,
pits.
we talked about your drivers getting together out of the race, totally different circumstances, both men now knocked out. How do you deal with this kind of frustration?
Well, you know, it's certainly not a great weekend for Team Cool Green. You know, Dario qualified really well and was running well, and we had some little electronics glitch in the car, and that put him way back in the pack, and he was trying to make something happen, and unfortunately got together with Jimmy, which was unfortunate. Paul, we didn't qualify well, and finished up down the back when we started, and you know, he was running a good race. Got a little loose, I think, coming out of the tight turn there, leading onto the straightaway. Tagliani got a good run on us, and unfortunately they got together. But you know, just a few laps to go, we're in the points, and not a great day for us.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Next week, indeed. They won't get much rest. Straight off to Road America, Elkhart Lake for the next round of the championship. Castroneves, our race leader then, as we look at the field summary. De Ferran in second, Fittipaldi third, ahead of Papis, Breck, Fernandez, Carpentier, Andretti. We've got a whole run of Ford-powered cars there, but they're not up front. It's two Honda-powered cars that are first and second, and then we've got Ford power running from third all the way down to ninth place inclusive. So right the way down to Andretti and Tagliani, and then we've got a Toyota in 10th place. That's Oriol Servia.
Yeah, only two Toyotas left running on this. Servia in 10th, one lap down, Gidley a couple of places behind him, and then the final two runners, the Mercedes-Benz runners, Jourdain and Blundell and Tony Kanaan, who, as you said, had that service in the pits. He's running in 15th position now, but there are 6 cars that are one lap down, and he is the last of those at the moment. But certainly there's the possibility, I would say, of moving up 2 or 3 or 4 places, and perhaps at least getting himself a point or two this afternoon.
Well, we're still awaiting the green flag here at the moment as they continue the clear-up operation, and some 10 laps to go at the moment, so they still get a good little run towards the end of this race. But let's just see, we are waiting for them to start to pick up some speed, although they are down on the back part of the track at the moment, and they will take the green flag from the start-finish line, but definitely getting themselves all stacked up together here. The pace car light is out, so as they come around this time, it will be to take the green flag.
And as before the previous caution, there are 2 rubber marbles there on the side of the track. Certainly well offline at that particular place, but certainly there are a lot of rubber particles all over the track. You don't want to get onto that lot at all, but still those same 2 cars between the 2 leaders. You can see Castroneves at the front, then Servia and Moreno, and 4th in line there is Gilles de Ferran. He's not keeping up with Moreno either. Quite sure why he wouldn't be a little bit closer than that. Behind him is Memo Gidley, and then behind Gidley is the 3rd place car of Christian Fittipaldi.
Yes, and remember, in terms of the championship here today, that De Ferran coming into this race was in 3rd place in the championship behind Roberto Moreno, and in fact only 8 points behind Moreno coming into it, and some 28 points or so behind, a little bit more than that, behind Michael Andretti. Well, Michael Andretti still in this race in 8th place, but De Ferran looking at scoring points for 2nd, definitely in shape to close up to the leader. Green flag has come out. Helio Castroneves gets them underway again. Servia in 2nd on the road, but of course it's De Ferran who's in fact in 2nd place, bottled up behind those 2 lapped cars of Servia and Moreno. Then it's Mimo Gidley on the road, but it's Christian Fittipaldi who lies 3rd. There is Fittipaldi running in 3rd position, and behind Fittipaldi in 4th position is Max Papis. But again, well, in fact, no, he's got direct threat from Papis. No lapped cars between Fittipaldi and Papis, so that is the battle for 3rd place.
Yes, it is, and quite a battle there as Gidley shuts the door on Fittipaldi, and Fittipaldi is now under pressure from Max Papis. As you say, the battle for third position. We're on board now with Mimo Gidley as he comes over the crest there, down through turn 7 into turn 8, and over another crest here. Oh, look over that brow of the road there. The car's going light to get the power on. Really exciting corner to watch. And up Thunder Valley now, and into turn 11, and then that very quick corner there. Now over the crest again into the final carousel corner, and here is Christian Fittipaldi. He wants past.
He does want past, and he wants to get away from Max Papis. Remember, Christian had a great run at Portland this year when he had a tyre problem, when he flat-spotted his tyres and still recovered to finish in third place. So Christian seems to be relishing the handling of the Lola Ford on the road courses this season, no doubt about that. Third place at Portland, looking perhaps for a third place here at Mid-Ohio this weekend, and then going to a racetrack next weekend. Oh, as Gidley gets on the dust and dirt there, puts a wheel over the edge, actually didn't slow him down at all. But Fittipaldi would have seen that, and perhaps now trying to take advantage, has a little look down the inside into turn 4, and I think he's made the move through there.
And I think Gidley let him go too. He saw him coming and let him go through the inside, gave him room on the inside of the corner. Christian Fittipaldi makes that pass. Now, can Max Papis get past as well and renew his battle with Christian Fittipaldi?
Yes, Papis has to get through as cleanly and as quickly as possible to keep the challenge for that final podium finish. Max Papis at least looking, maybe we speak early of course, still 8 laps to go, but looking at getting a finish here today. Max has suffered 7 DNFs this year out of the 12 races leading up to this one. 7 DNFs is not a good record at all. So I think just to get to the end would be an achievement for him, but to get a podium finish I'm sure would really make him happy. And there he goes, continues through into turn 1, but hasn't found a way past Mimo Gidley, the lapped car, as yet.
Another car that sounds a little bit sick. It's one of the Mercedes cars, either Michel Jourdain Jr. or Tony Kanaan, and well, they're good. There goes Papis past Gidley. Gidley left the door open again and lets Papis through into turn 2. Good thinking there by Mimo Gidley. He still wants to try and track down Oriol Servia and Roberto Moreno, who are running in 10th and 11th places ahead of him, but he wisely decided there that those other 2 cars are a little bit quicker. I'll let them get on with their battle, and hopefully they will get past the other 2 cars as well, and then I'll be able to challenge those for position as well. But good move there by Gidley, and he lets that battle for third place continue.
Yes, and interestingly, look, De Ferran's not got away from Christian Fittipaldi after this last restart, and Fittipaldi, if anything, having got past Gidley, has closed up slightly to Gilles De Ferran. Bit of a surprise, but well, Fittipaldi is flying.
That's very true, but in actual fact, what I was about to say before that last yellow was that Christian Fittipaldi had been making some inroads into into the disadvantage that he held to Gilles De Ferran. So he had been tracking him down before that yellow, and now he's trying to do it again.
Interests me that Christian's running so well on the road courses with the Lola this year, and yet Ganassi seem to have been struggling a little bit with their cars. Perhaps a little bit of difference in different engines, different setups on the cars, perhaps what a driver likes, but Christian seems so happy with this car, and he's already said this weekend that the car he's running this weekend is the best car he's ever driven here at Mid-Ohio. Very, very pleased with it indeed, and you can see that with the way he's charging after Gilles De Ferran and staying very much still in the hunt for second position.
That's right, and meanwhile Michel Jourdain Jr. just came into the pit lane. It was his car that was sounding sick. Not surprising, I suppose. He had an exhaust header broke in qualifying after just 3 laps yesterday. He went out in the morning warm-up again now, and this morning I should say, and had exactly the same problem right away, and it really toasted the back end of that car. It caught fire and a lot of damage to the primary car, so he was back out now into the backup for the race, running fairly well. He was running in 13th position there. It looks like the same problem, or it sounds like I should say, the same problem again.
So across the line, the leaders have gone to complete lap number 78 as Michael Andretti comes over the line.
Michael, L5.
5 laps to go for everybody now, including Michael Andretti, who gets the word from his pit crew. He runs in 8th position, as I say. Tagliani 9th, right behind him. So Tagliani, as we said, surviving that incident with Paul Tracy earlier. Funnily enough, he's got Tony Kanaan behind him. Tony, who was so badly affected by it, ended up dropping him down to 13th position. He had to come in for a new nose cone. So that's a one to watch, perhaps.
Yeah, he's made up a couple of positions as Tony Khan. He passed Mark Blundell, he passed Jourdain just before Jourdain came in the pits, and now he's trying to track down Mimo Gidley for that final championship point.
In the Penske pit, the tension builds as we get near the end of this race. Elio Castroneves looking for his second win of the season, the second win of his career indeed, and to really kickstart and get back on track with his championship chase, so you have to say. He's finished less laps than any of the other regular runners this year, and that's just down to bad luck, because he has had a lot of bad luck so far this season, but he's been on the pace throughout the year, coming into this race lying way down in the championship, down in 12th place, but on 56 points, and today 20 points will certainly bring him back up into the top 10 in the series. But Gilles de Ferran's the one to watch. Third in the championship coming in here, looking to get a second place finish this afternoon, and that will definitely close him up towards Michael Andretti up front.
Yes, it would indeed, and he's looking to score some points. He started on the pole for the first two races of the season, did Gilles de Ferran, and he failed to win either of those two races. He finished sixth, I think it was, in both of them. Did get the extra bonus points there for leading most laps and for the pole, but he was effectively 30 points away from where he should have been effectively, so he needs to make up those points now and get back right into the thick of the challenge for the championship, with Michael Andretti running in 8th place.
Yes, and that would still, of course, allow Michael to be in the lead of the championship. In fact, he'd still have something like a 19-point advantage over Gilles de Ferran if de Ferran stays where he is. So fairly good for Michael, but he knows above all others how competitive this series is. And the fact that Team Penske, if they can put in this sort of performance here at Mid-Ohio, are quite likely to do the same next week at Road America. And they certainly tested very effectively there last week.
Yes, they did. They were the fastest cars in testing there at Road America, and they were looking very, very good indeed. Well, at least they were fastest when most of the teams were there. In actual fact, Team Cool Green stayed on one extra day, and Dario Franchitti did go quicker than both Castroneves and de Ferran, but the other contenders weren't there on that same day, so kind of difficult to judge. But certainly, when most of the cars were there, the quickest, quite easily, were the two Marlboro Team Penske Reynard Hondas.
And here we are again, the latter part of this race. They perhaps haven't shown the same domination as they did in the early stages, but they're looking pretty comfortable, I have to say. Castroneves with a 4.5 second lead over teammate Gilles de Ferran, who's got just under a second advantage. Comfortable enough edge over Christian Fittipaldi that Christian can't really try anything too spectacular, particularly on this racetrack where overtaking is at a premium anyway. Behind Christian Fittipaldi, still Max Papis, remember. Papis running in 4th position. Kenny Breck, his teammate, in 5th. Fernandez still in 6th place. Carpentier 7th. Andretti in 8th position. Tagliani 9th. Sevilla 10th. Moreno in 11th. And Gidley in 12th position. Our top 12 finishers all scoring points in the Champ Car Series. Just 2 laps to go now. And look at that. The last 1-2 finish for Team Penske was at Nazareth in 1994, some 6 years ago. And in fact, the same year, Jeremy, I think they had a 1-2-3 finish here, because that was the year of the dream team of the Penske PC23s, with Al Unser Jr. won this race. Paul Tracy finished 2nd, and Emerson Fittipaldi finished 3rd.
Yeah, the similar result also at Milwaukee that year. They were absolutely dominant that year. They won 12 races, I think it was, out of 16, if I recall correctly. Certainly absolutely totally dominant force that year, and nothing could even come close to them. But it's been the same story, as you say, this weekend as well. Marlboro Team Penske, they are absolutely dominant here this weekend. Helio Castroneves well out in front. He's been tracked by Oriol Servia and Roberto Moreno. They are both a lap down, and Gilles de Ferran in 2nd place. Been unable to match his teammate just today. He was quicker yesterday, but not today.
Yes, Castroneves has had the edge. He sat in behind de Ferran in the early stages, shadowing him, conserving fuel, was able to run the extra lap towards the first pit stop, really put the hammer down on that one free lap that he had, got into the pits, quick stop and back out, and that really was race over from that point, because traffic then intervened as well. That opened up the gap between the two teammates. Castroneves has controlled this race, and now driving with that extra maturity that being a race winner already gives a young driver.
Absolutely right. He knows he can get it done. He's done it in Detroit, and he's going to do it again this afternoon, almost certainly. Less than a mile to go now. A few tricky corners, of course, and they come through turn 9 there. That's the last of the really difficult corners, I would say. Uphill now, he'll take it a little bit easy through turn 11. It's a great uphill blind left-hander there. It's a great corner. And down now into the carousel, and almost the finish line in sight.
Here he comes. Helio Castroneves is going to win at Mid-Ohio. And the joy can begin. The emotion will be released now. as Castroneves celebrates this victory. And bear in mind, on Friday, this man was on an intravenous drip because he was so dehydrated. He was not well on Friday. He didn't even attend the press conference after qualifying. He's come back yesterday. He was in much better shape, wanted to challenge for pole but couldn't quite do it. Today he's shown them how to do it as Castroneves takes his second win of the season.
And great to see. Look at the emotion again from Elio Castroneves. We saw it the first race in Detroit there. He jumped out of the car and climbed up on the barriers to say thanks to the fans, and look at him now. He's clambering out of the car and he's number one. He knows he's number one today, and this is his way of thanking these fans. A huge crowd here on hand at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and a very appreciative crowd they are of a great effort by this very talented young Brazilian.
Yeah, and aren't Team Penske delighted? It's been a long time before this year since they've seen victories coming their way, and now that's another one to add to their tally. 2 wins for De Ferran, 2 wins for Castroneves. 4 victories this year already.
Yeah, fantastic. And Castroneves, he's got a lot of strong local support here, of course, in the Ohio area. You remember in Indy Lights, he and Tony Kanaan drove for the Tasman Motorsports team in Indy Lights, and they were first and second in the championship that year. Kanaan actually came out on top, but certainly a lot of support for these two. They made a lot of friends in this area. They're great personalities, and they really got along well with the fan base. Really strong motor racing support in this part of the world, and they love to support their own heroes, and Castroneves and Kanaan very much heroes for the crowd here.
Yes, indeed. And Gilles de Ferran just coasting in as well, has finished in 2nd place here today. Castroneves bringing it round to the start-finish line. De Ferran actually is ahead of him now, having passed him on that slowing down lap. And Christian Fittipaldi coming in 3rd place. It's an all-Brazilian 1, 2, 3 here at Mid-Ohio. So that's the 2nd time this season that that's happened. It happened at Portland as well. Christian doing a little burnout along the start-finish straight here. And here he goes, Elio Castroneves. It's the grab the fence routine, just as in Detroit. This is obviously going to be the trademark. It used to be donuts for Zanardi. For Castroneves, it's leap the fence time.
Great to see, and jubilation there for Castroneves, and a similar jubilation also for Christian Fittipaldi. As you said, been a big tyre burnout here in front of the pits, and he'll be absolutely delighted coming back after missing the last race through injury, coming back here still stiff and sore, but a brilliant effort also by Christian Fittipaldi.
And look at the delight. It's always fun to watch Elio Castroneves celebrate, and he really is filled with joy here this afternoon. What a dominant performance by Team Penske, a 1-2 finish. And Penske, who's been the most successful team owner here at Mid-Ohio in the past, adding to that tally. Look at the results. De Ferran 2nd, Fittipaldi 3rd, ahead of the 2 Team Rahal entries of Papis and Breck. Then Fernandez and Carpentier. Andretti getting points ahead of Tagliani, Sevilla, Moreno and Gidley, with our other finishers, Tony Kanaan, Mark Blundell and Michel Jourdain Jr.
Actually in the pit lane as the checkered flag came out. Paul Tracy we saw was taken out there in that instant down in turn 4 with Cristiano de Mano Marquez. He'd been running well until I don't know whether he ran out of fuel or must have been some sort of problem. It was right after a pit stop actually. I don't know whether maybe they didn't get any fuel into that car for some reason, but certainly he was running well in the Swift. That's the best performance by the Swift in quite a long time. Meanwhile, there is Tim Cindric there, the new president of Penske Racing this year, congratulating his young charge, Elio Castroneves.
Yes, and it's a 5th win for Roger Penske and his team here at Mid-Ohio. They dominated in the early 90s, winning through inclusive from 1992 to 1995. And here we are in the year 2000. Perhaps this could be the start of a new sequence on this 2¼ mile road course. Elliot just taking a little opportunity for a rest and a drink.
Well, Elio Castroneves comes down to knee here, and I don't know if he's given thanks, taking a deep breath, or what. We know you weren't feeling well to begin with this week. How tough physically has this day been, Elio?
Gary, I have to thank, first of all, the doctor, Steve, everybody over there to take care of this weekend. IV and everything they put me on, and they probably put something there that definitely made me finish the race. It was really tough, but what a team, our Team Penske. What a fantastic car I had. Wow, what a day. Today is just a fantastic day.
We heard Tim Cindric on the radio saying no pressure. Were you feeling pressure?
I tell you, the last 5 laps, I said, damn, it doesn't finish. I mean, it was, oh, what a day, man, I tell you. I have to thank everybody that's really supporting me, believing me. Mom and Dad, my sister that's not here, we did it again, twice.
And I got a feeling there may be many more in the future, Paul.
Well, there may be many more. Helio Castroneves is certainly one of the stars of this championship, and with a team such as Team Penske beneath him, he could achieve a great deal in the coming years. And that, of course, he's taken some 21 points here today, and that's moved Helio Castroneves up into 8th place in the championship, and very much in that group now, where if you just score another 10 points or so, you suddenly leap up to near the top 3. But what it has done as well is make sure Gilles de Ferran goes into a clear 2nd position, chasing after Michael Andretti.
Yeah, and Gilles de Ferran, no question about it, is going to be very, very tough to beat in these next few races. He needs all the points he can get. He doesn't want his teammate taking points ahead of him. Really, in the ideal world, he needs to get as many points as he can to track down Michael Andretti. But no team orders at Marlboro Team Penske, and Helio Castroneves says thank you very much indeed.
So as Castroneves continues the round of interviews that will carry on late here at Mid-Ohio, let's take a little look at some of the highlights from today's event. And starting off with the green flag, we had a clean start. Everybody made it through turn 1 safely, and it was Gilles de Ferran who took the initial advantage. Castroneves chased him, and they soon opened up on a lead over Kenny Brack in 3rd place.
Yeah, some good dicing going on behind there. Look at Montoya there, looking at him bucking and bronking across the grass there in turn 1. He was off the road a couple of times, and finally he ended his race out of fuel.
Gilles de Ferran was the first of the leaders to come into the pits, and it took a little longer perhaps than it did for Helio Castroneves. Castroneves took advantage of the fact that he was able to save fuel behind de Ferran, put in a fast lap while de Ferran was in, and once de Ferran got back out again, it would prove to be the advantage to the younger Brazilian who came in the next lap round.
Yeah, he was in very shortly thereafter. Again, great stop here by Rick Reinemann's crew, and look at Castroneves just waiting for the signal from Rick there by that right front tyre. He gets the signal and off he goes.
And that was the moment that he got into the lead of the race, and that's where he would stay. Now, this is what happens between Jimmy Vasser and Dario Franchitti.
Yeah, and Franchitti was already 2 laps down at that stage, and he's trying to pass Jimmy Vasser, who was battling with the other cars who just went around the corner. Not really a very necessary accident at all. And Dario Franchitti, look, you can see the frustration on his points. No points again.
Michael Andretti himself finishing in 8th place here today, still scoring points, and he still comes away leading the championship, which to him will be the most important aspect of today's performance. This was then the accident we saw between Paul Tracy and Alex Tagliani.
Yeah, Tagliani then making a bold move around the outside there, but just cutting across as they go into the corner, and there's certainly room to go 2 abreast through there, and I'm sure that's what Paul Tracy was expecting. All he needed was a little bit more room there, and there's certainly plenty of grip for Tagliani to take the other line. It didn't happen, and Tracy has to walk back to the pits.
Yes, enjoying the applause from the fans gathered here at Mid-Ohio, who thoroughly have enjoyed this afternoon's motor racing. And then the celebrations at the Team Penske pit for Helio Castroneves, coming through to his 2nd win of the year, the team's 4th victory, and their first 1-2 result for 6 seasons.
Wow, yeah, and just a jubilation there for Helio Castroneves. A job extremely well done. He was sick at the beginning of the weekend, not feeling at all well, and look, the trademark for Helio Castroneves.
Up onto the fence and the cheers of the fans. Great stuff from this man, and we could expect to see the same again next week perhaps, Jeremy, as we go to Elkhart Lake, another of the classic road courses that the Champ Cars visit.
That's right, a very different kind of road course to this one. This one is all ups and downs and very, very twisty. Road America is also ups and downs, but it's long straights there. 3 different points on the track. They do more than 200 miles an hour.
Yes, very high speed indeed, but Team Penske had a great test there last week, and they're looking forward to it. You'll be able to watch all the coverage with us of the Road America 200. Make sure you stay with us. Dario Franchitti will be out for revenge. So will Juan Montoya after a disastrous day here today. And perhaps we'll have some more news about who's going where in the year 2001.
Yeah, also the rumour mill really getting into full stride this weekend. Where will they go? Who will go where? Great stuff. Intrigue. We'll bring it for you next week.
That will be round number 14 of the championship. 13 lucky for Helio Castroneves here today, as he really dominated this event ahead of teammate Gilles de Ferran. Lots of action, lots of drama as ever in Champ Car racing. Thank you for joining us. From Ben Edwards and Jeremy Shaw, this has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.